up, everybody? This is Brant with CPC Bodybuilding, the best channel in men's classic physique. Today, I've got a preview of the Tokyo Pro men's classic physique division with my special guest, IFBB Classic Physique Pro from Hong Kong, Brian Au. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm actually in prep, so it's an honor to be on this show. I'm actually 2 weeks out from the Hong Kong Pro, but I'm not doing the Tokyo Pro, so that's why I'm doing this review with you guys.
Yeah, this is a big thing to have Brian on here just 2 weeks out from a show. So really appreciate him for taking the time to do this. And before we get started with the preview, guys, want to remind you to like, comment, and share this video with your friends, promoting all of the Classic Physique shows, previewing these with Classic Physique Pros every single week, just like Brian. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. Follow me on Instagram, CPC Bodybuilding is the Instagram tag. And also want to give a huge shout out again to Brian for taking the time out of his day. You guys can find him here on Instagram. It's just his name, Brian Au, with an underscore at the end. And then Brian, in terms of your business ventures, your supplement partners, any sponsors that you want to give shout outs?
I'm actually a GAPS and Better Body sponsor athlete. I've worked with GAPS for a very long time, since I believe it was 2018 when I first met the owner, Michael. I actually met Derek as well in Vegas, and then we kind of just kick-started. Like, I think they were interested in, they were really like surprised an Asian face who can speak fluent English, and I think that was the thing. But then when we get started, we started chatting a little bit, and our philosophy just aligned a lot. That's why I decided to join GAPS, the GAPS family, and also promoting GAPS and Better Bodies in Hong Kong. And I also, well, I don't really have a supplement sponsor because I'm a distributor for the Trained by JP brand. If you're looking for supplements, or if even if you're not based in Hong Kong, but you're around the Asia region and you don't want to purchase all the way from the UK, we can also ship overseas as well. And in terms of, my business venture, I have a gym in Hong Kong called Fit Culture. So this is what I do from day-to-day basis. I manage the gym and I also train clients. And I'm also a contest prep coach as well. So like I prep a lot of athletes, including pros. Actually, one of the athlete in the Tokyo Pro was my ex-client, and I've also, I think he's going to do quite well. But then let's just see. And I wish him nothing but the best. And yeah, so I've prepped pro athletes, amateur athletes, from bikini, classic, bodybuilding, everything. So like, if you're also looking for a contest prep service, hit me up. Yeah.
So he does it all, folks. If you guys are looking for, your supplements, if you're looking for a place to train when you're in Hong Kong, if you're looking for a coach, Brian does it all. So make sure you guys reach out to him here on Instagram, give him a follow.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah.
So without further ado, we'll get into the show details. So the Tokyo Pro is going to be this upcoming Sunday, August 25th. We have a very awesome classic physique lineup with guys from all around Asia. We also have a guy from Australia in here as well, a guy from Morocco. So plenty of talented classic physique pros. When you saw this lineup, Brian, what were your thoughts immediately?
My thought was, I'm glad that I didn't go. Yeah, that was my first one. No, honestly speaking, I was expecting a smaller lineup, and I was expecting actually a little bit more Chinese athletes. But then, unfortunately, I don't see any Chinese athletes going over to Japan for the classic show. But then, nonetheless, there's still a very, very strong lineup. I see some very familiar names on there. Some of them haven't competed for a while, but then we obviously, like, looking at their Instagram, they've made some dramatic improvements. So it's a very, very exciting show, and I wish I was there in person to watch it, because I was there last year. The vibe is crazy. So like, if you haven't been to a show in Tokyo, like the crowd is just next level. It's like it's not like in the, I can't speak for the US, because some shows in the US are great. But then also you get some shows in Asia is a little bit weird. Like, you don't get the crowd shouting or like cheering for the athletes. But then in Japan, it's like everyone just goes crazy when the athlete walks out. So like, it's just a shame that I'm not there to watch it in person. But then it's a very exciting lineup.
Yeah. So here is our full classic physique lineup. We'll go through and talk about each of the athletes, then give our top five predictions at the end of the show. So starting out, we have Yusuke Flores from Japan, Murakan Karahasanlar from Australia, who is a Turkish guy who recently moved to Australia. We have Hyunjin Kim from South Korea, Shin Kodama from Japan, Shingo Komatsu from Japan, Ka-Sing Lee from Hong Kong, Li Xuan Liu from Taiwan, Reda Nasiruddin from Morocco, Eugene Nagashima from Japan, Sung-Hun Park from South Korea, Naoto Takamoto from Japan, Suki Wong from Taiwan, Su Min Yoon from South Korea, and Yukihiro Yuasa from Japan. So that is our full classic physique lineup. And we will begin by starting out with our first competitor. This is Yusuke Flores from Japan. So this photo is from 5 days out. He is making his pro debut. He turned pro at the Amateur Olympia Japan back in, I believe, 2021. So a pro debut just 3 years after turning pro. So it's been a minute since we've seen him on stage. Not a whole lot of photos on this guy. So really tough to know what to expect. But Brian, just looking at these Instagram photos, it looks like he's grown a bit. What do you think?
He looks quite big actually. But then I, just to be completely transparent, I just my honest thought. If that photo's from 5 days out, I don't think he's quite hit the conditioning mark yet because I do know, some of these guys in this lineup are going to be coming in great condition. So let's just see, because everyone has different peaking methods. So like that might be just him, like loaded on water and sodium. So I'm excited to see this guy, gracing the stage after 3 years. 3 years, right?
Mhm.
Since he's got his pro card and hopefully he comes in shape and he's got good shape actually. Pretty big legs. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he brings a very round, full, kind of dense
Yeah.
type of look. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is Yusuke Flores making his pro debut. Next up, we have probably the favorite heading into the show. This is Murakin Karahasanlar from Turkey slash Australia. So he placed second most recently at the Taiwan Pro this year, and he has never placed outside of the top three at a pro show. He's done three pro shows and always been within the top three. So this guy is a very, very strong competitor. When he takes the stage, he makes his presence felt. So Brian, I take it that you've seen some of his photos before. What do you think some of his strengths are?
Oh, do you know what? Like he's got tremendous shape for a classic. He's not just big, but he's got that classic lines, like great vacuum, great legs. Arms are crazy. When I first saw this guy, like I believe it was from Callum's Instagram. Callum is his coach. The conditioning on this guy is just crazy. So like, I'm excited to see how he's gonna look on stage. I would say like because obviously he's still in peak week from these photos. I would say um, if he can come in a slightly tighter at the glutes, I don't think anyone can beat him. But then also because I do know, the judge for I believe the head judge for the Tokyo Pro is Sally. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. But then if it is, I do know that Sally is someone who's, really like tight on conditioning. Conditioning is always the first thing that she looks at. Judging from the DMS show from the 2 weeks ago, like she was, she obviously picked the guy who had the most, who is the most conditioned. And this guy, if he brings the conditioning with his size and lines, I don't see anyone beating him, to be honest.
Yeah, very, very tough guy to beat. And I think he has a very good shot at winning the show and potentially even making his Olympia debut this year. So
Yeah.
that is Murakin Karahasanlar. Next up, we have Hyunjin Kim out of South Korea. So he made his pro debut. This is from the AGP last year. So he placed sixth at this show. Now, Brian, you were actually there in attendance. What are some of his strengths?
Uh, I'll be totally honest. I don't remember fully. Like he wasn't the guy that really stood out for me. But then, judging from this video, because I was actually concentrating on my athlete, so like I wasn't really paying attention as much to this guy. But then, he's got great abs in his front double, and then from the side he could be a little bit tighter on the hamstrings, judging from that shot. just that's on the screen right now. Glutes are great. Um, but then I know there's going to be a guy who's going to be coming in with tighter glutes. Tremendous back, actually, tremendous back. So he could potentially have a shot at the top five if he comes in the condition that is showing on the video right now. Obviously, like that was last year. So if he comes in any bigger, improving some of the weaknesses, he can do very well, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Just very
Yeah.
well put together, good
Back is
balance.
crazy. Like judging from this though, like I'm not 6 days out. Like I can't. Instagram just tells part of the story always, and obviously like everyone just looks different. They have different ways of peaking, like I just said, you know. So like what looks like crazy shape, crazy conditioning at 6 days out doesn't matter on stage, right? And if even if a guy is watery, doesn't look in shape, as long as he can peak correctly and lose enough body fat come show day, that's what matters. So like I can't really judge from this video, this photo alone. Doesn't look like he's put a whole lot of more size on, but then I'm excited to see if he can come in with sharp conditioning.
Yeah, so that is Hyunjin Kim from South Korea. Next up, we have Shin Kodama. So he was 10th at last year's Tokyo Pro. Definitely one of the more veteran pros here in Classic Physique, especially in Japan. This guy has great muscle maturity. Just looking from, so this is a 4 days out update. Brian, have you seen Shin on stage before?
If he did the Tokyo Pro last year, did he? Did he do the Tokyo Pro?
Yeah.
When was that? Uh, I probably have. Wasn't who's someone who really stood out for me. But then that video that earlier you just shown, he looked fantastic. So like obviously with these with older athletes, they have better muscle maturity than some of the younger guys. So if he looks actually peel, like he actually looks quite peel. So like excited to see him on stage, and he's actually got some pretty good front double bicep. Haven't seen any other shots. The arm's great. Legs are very well separated. Vacuums are great as well. So let's just see, how he looks on show day.
Yeah. So that is Shin Kodama. Next up, we have Shingo Komatsu, who is making his pro debut. So this guy is based out of Japan, and he recently turned pro in bodybuilding at the Japan Pro qualifier a few years ago. So I think he
Oh,
turned pro. I want to say it was maybe this might have been 3 years ago, but like this guy has
yeah.
so much muscle, dude.
Yeah. I've never seen this guy before, and to be honest, he looks more like a bodybuilder. But then, you never know what the judges want. If he comes in as sharp as his photos, he might have a shot actually at top five. Um, yeah, these shots looks great. Uh, but it's just to me, like for myself, he doesn't really have the classic lines, classic shape. But then, sometimes, depends what the judges like. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean there because his
Yeah.
condition,
He looks like a 212 guy to me. And I
yeah.
think he could do if he puts on a little bit more muscle, he could do very well in 212.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And I think really what it comes down to is the width is what
The
I
legs
would
are
say.
the legs are crazy. Legs and chest are crazy. And in this shot, he just looks like a bodybuilder. Well, obviously because he's the most muscular, and I think it just suits him a lot. His legs are crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
very
it's
impressive
very exciting to see
muscularity,
ish. Yeah.
conditions there too. This
Oh yeah.
guy, I mean, he could, who knows? But I would say, just generally speaking, from the shows that I've covered in Asia, and you
Mm.
could probably speak more to this, I think they're actually probably from the judging in Asia, they're actually stricter on shape there than in some of the other places, I
Yeah.
would say. They don't
I
tend to pick
would
blockier
say
bodybuilders for
it
winners, so
depends. It depends who's the head judge. That's the main thing. But then obviously every head judge they follow the criteria for from the IFBB. But then I do believe some of the judges just love conditioning a little bit more, and some judges just prefer someone with more classic lines. And to be honest, it's always the guy who's got both that wins.
yep.
Like if you look at, I'm gonna put this as in, yeah, if you look at Tokyo Pro from last year, the guy who won it was guy based out in China called Ji Sheng. He was in the Olympia last year, but then he got COVID or something, so he didn't come in shape. So anyway, so like he wasn't the biggest guy. Like he was actually probably one of the smaller guy, but he just had very good lines and he was pure, like just pure glutes, pure quads, everything. Like his abs, his front double wasn't a vacuum front double. It was like a crunch down abs front double. But then the judges loved the conditioning and he just loved what they saw and he got it. And he just, he's known for his conditioning, but in terms of, classic shit, he's still very classic. So like but then, some if he were to he did the New York Pro. I don't think he did quite well over there. That could, because of his size. So like I would say there's some difference between judging in Asia and in America, because like if you're small and you go to America and compete, it just exposes your weakness. Like if you're a smaller guy, if you stand next to all these big guys who are topping out at their weight cap, we just have a disadvantage at that. Yeah. But then if you have a lineup with some bigger guy but not in so much of a conditioning, and with a guy who's like Jishang from last year's Tokyo Pro winner, um, he obviously has an advantage to, his conditioning really stood out and his classic shape really stood out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that is Shingo Komatsu.
yeah,
Next up, we have Kasing Lee from Hong Kong. So this is a guy, I saw your comment on Bodybuilders Without Borders. You said don't
yeah.
count this guy out. So Brian, why should we not count this guy out? What does
So
he bring to the stage?
yeah, so I've actually this guy's based out in Hong Kong. He's I believe he was the second or first IFBB Pro. No, he was the second IFBB Pro Classic Physique Pro from Hong Kong. Uh, he's just improved so much this last year. Uh, in the past, his weakness was always his size. Okay. So I know how he did this prep. So like basically he just didn't do much cardio. He prepped it with really high carbs, and then he was able to maintain his size. Conditioning was never an issue. So like in the past he was probably doing a little bit too much cardio and eating a little bit too little, and then come show day he was just and obviously the peaking method as well. When it comes show day he was always sharp, like conditioning was never a problem, but then he was always one of the smaller guy. But this year, I haven't seen him in person posing yet. Um, but then judging from the photos that I saw on his Instagram, like he's just made dramatic improvement on his size. I think once he turns around, judges are going to be noticing him a lot. If you see the way his glutes are, glutes has always been a strong point, but then he brought it up even more this year. Like it's just peel all the way in. All right. So like when he throws his back double bicep up, I think the judges are going to be like, okay, this guy is in tremendous shape. The glutes are crazy. When he turns back around, we'll probably move him over closer to the middle. That's my prediction for him. And honestly, if he doesn't mess up his peak, because he's working with a new coach now, I'm not so sure if they're going to work so well together in terms of the peaking, but I'm not saying like they won't peak right. But then I think even for casting, like this is sort of an experiment leading to the Hong Kong Pro. So like I'm excited to see how he looks on stage in Tokyo Pro. But then I think regardless of whatever the placing is, he's just made dramatic, like really really dramatic improvement in the past year. So I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, I think he will do very well. And you highlight some of the most important points. He brings a crazy lower body. Like
Yeah,
the hamstrings, the glutes, the quads are really good.
yeah, I would say his glutes are amazing. In terms of lower body, like I was want to see him with a little bit more inner thigh, but then his upper body would probably look a little bit out of proportion if his leg gotten any bigger. So like like moving forward, I would say if he just brings up his upper body even more, his arms and everything, I'm sure he agrees with this as well. Like just just bigger upper body in general. Like I don't think he will. I think he will be the sharpest guy on stage. That's for sure. Like that's no doubt. Like I don't see anyone with this kind of glutes on in that lineup, including the Turkish guy. But then in terms of size, he might lose out a little bit in comparison to everyone else. But then I'm sure he would do very well.
Yeah, I think the upper lower symmetry is the one vulnerability that he has. Just needs a little bit more in the upper body, like you said, because the lower
Yeah,
half is spectacular, but
yeah,
still has great shape, great condition, crisp lines, you name it. I think he's got a really great physique.
yeah.
So our next competitor is Li Xuan Liu from Taiwan. So a lot of you guys probably know him as Lion. This guy's gotten big on Instagram for his posing videos, like he's posed in front of big crowds, in Asia. So we've seen him take the stage relatively recently. I think he's done a couple of shows this year, had some disappointing placings, but um, just got a couple of shots pulled up for him, I believe, earlier this year. So, Brian, what are some of his strengths?
Well, his strength is actually his shape. I would say his shape is just made for classic. I would say his legs needs to come up even more. When I work, he's actually my ex-client, so like I worked with him for the Tokyo Pro last year. Actually, that was when he got his best ever pro placing. It was fourth place, I believe. And then the 2 weeks after that, or a week, actually it was only a week. A week after that at the AGP, he placed third in his pro show. That was his best placing in his whole pro career. And the feedback from the judges was always, bigger lower body, uh, bigger legs, bigger glutes, more hamstrings. His upper body was never a problem. This guy changed from men's physique a couple of years ago to classic physique. He was always considered a little bit too big in men's physique. If you look at his vacuum, man, like he's just made for classic. So like I think he's gonna still do very well. But then I actually, because we're not in touch or not in contact anymore, so like I don't know how, in terms of like conditioning wise, I don't know how he looks. I actually didn't know he was going to compete in Tokyo Pro. It's only like someone sent it to me and like, oh, he's actually competing. Then I saw the updates from him. He's actually got a new coach in Korea. He worked with a Chinese coach. Well, I think that guy's actually from England, but then he's based in China. So he worked with him for the DMS show in April, and then for the Kim Jun Ho Classic. Both of these show, I don't think he came in the best shape. Like I think he was very off in terms of conditioning wise, and I'm sure he would agree with that as well. And I think there was a small incident at the way in, like he was trying to do like a break dance, and he kind of like pulled his ligament in his knee, and that's why he couldn't really like show his 100% on the show day in the DMS show. But then put all that aside, like he just didn't come in condition enough. So like if he can fix the conditioning issue, he will be top three, no doubt. Like so, the only focus that I had with him when I worked with him was conditioning, because I knew this guy had crazy shape, and classic physique is all about shapes and conditioning and size, and he's got the size, not in the lower body, but in at least in the upper body. So all I needed to do was to bring him in the best shape he's ever been, and that gotten him the best results, right? So I really hope that he will come in super sharp this time, and if he does, he will be one of my top three pick.
Yeah, the shape is what stands out to me. The shape, the lines, it's just the question of condition. That's the ultimate question.
Yeah, correct.
So that
And
is,
and also like one of the other issue as well is I've seen, obviously we've gone through a few competitors already. The posterior shot, his back is also one of his weakness. And in that lineup, there are a lot of guys with great back. Like the Korean guy we just saw, the bodybuilders like that looks like 212. He's got great back as well. Gasing's got great back. So like but then that actually was never the issue when he competed last year. Oh, I actually coached him for the Monster Gym show as well. So that show he placed fifth or fourth. I can't remember exactly. but then the feedback was never, like his back shot. Like it was just, overall he needed bigger lower body. So like, I'm not sure if the judges are going to be criticizing his back, but then I know for sure if he doesn't come in shape, he won't do well. So I hope he does.
So that is Lishuan Liu from
Yeah.
Taiwan. Next up, we got Reda Nasirdin from Morocco. So this guy's making his pro debut, and I could only find a few shots from him on previous competition photos, but I believe he turned pro back at the Amateur Olympia in Pakistan 2 years ago. So this guy is taking the pro stage for the first time in a huge pro show. These are some updates from, I believe, roughly a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks out. So, looking at this posing update, Brian, what do you think of this guy's physique?
Actually, I do follow him on Instagram, but then he doesn't really show too much of an update. If I just look at this, like got great vacuum, great arms. Um, I would say if he does come in condition, he would do quite well. But then, when is this? Like, is this recent?
Roughly a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks out.
Yeah, yeah. So like, obviously you have to account for traveling as well, because he's based in where? Morocco, I think.
Morocco.
Morocco. Yeah. So like traveling all the way to Japan, like, and also he actually messaged me on Instagram and asked me if there's any food prep company, and I just said, like no, there's not any. Like not that any I know of, but it's very easy to buy chicken breast in the convenience store. But then I'm just not sure if he will adjust to the because this is pro debut as well. I'm not sure how much experience he has in the past with traveling long haul flights and prepping for shows that are overseas. If he can nail the peak and he comes in shape, then he would be one of the bigger guy actually in the lineup.
Yeah, he's got great muscularity. That's the thing that stands out most to me. Pretty grainy, real dense. He's got a lot of muscle. It's just a matter of, I think, like you said, the condition, and then
Yeah,
I'll be intrigued to see how he stacks up shape wise versus some of these other guys. Because some of these guys, like Lion, we looked at. I mean, they have great shape,
very
and
sure. Yeah.
this guy, though he might have a lot of muscle, who knows if it's going to compare well shape wise with some of these other guys. So that is Reda Nasirdin from Morocco. Next up, we've got Eugene Nagashima. So this guy competed at the New York Pro most recently. Didn't do so well, but I think he's done a lot better previously in some of these shows in Asia. The guy's got really good shape from what I've seen of him. I really like this front double bicep here at the New York Pro. I would say the thing that stands out most to me is obviously his structure, but I really think this guy hasn't been 100% on stage on a pro stage quite yet. Um, in terms of the condition, I think his condition could certainly be improved. Um, just looking at some of these shots, I mean the lines are in, but they're not deep, if you know what I mean. So
Well, that's the thing with competing, right? Like when you're, that's also one of the reasons why I choose to do Hong Kong Pro for my not pro debut, but then the first show of the season. Is because if there's an opportunity to compete on home soil, it's just much better for us. Like there's no traveling, there's no readjusting to different food. Even the water matters. Like I get sick from drinking water in different countries, like because I'm so used to the water in here. Like if I were to go back to the UK, it would probably take me a week to adjust to the UK tap water. Does that make sense? Like, when you're traveling, there's just so much different variables that you cannot control. So who knows? Like maybe he was in shape. It's just that he couldn't really quite nail the peak because of the travel issue. I actually met this guy last year in Japan. I don't know if you could tell from the picture, but he's actually very tall. I believe he's over 6 foot or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but then he's a very tall guy. So he will, the taller you are, the more muscle you gotta have on your frame. Like otherwise, you just you don't look quite as big as the other guys. That's my opinion. Um, but then again, this is his home soil. If he brings the conditioning, he's actually got pretty good shape. So like I think he would do pretty well. My assumption would be first call out, but then it would be very hard to crack the maybe top three. Top five is possible, but then in that lineup, I would say he could potentially crack top five if the conditioning is on point. But he's a great guy, actually. I met him and he's just good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that is Eugene Nagashima out of Japan.
yeah.
Next up, we have Sunghoon Park from South Korea. So this is from his most recent appearance, which was at the Taiwan Pro last year. So this was um, a fourth place finish for him. And I'm a big fan of this guy's physique. Brian, you've seen him before. What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, he's tremendous. Like when I knew this guy was competing, like I just knew he was going to be top three. I saw him, I believe it was, I can't remember exactly. I think it was in Monster Gym, and I was there in the show in Taiwan. I didn't compete, but I was in the audience. He just stood out a lot to me. I would say his biggest weakness is his back shot, but then the front is actually tremendous. I would have him in the top three for sure.
Yeah, just looking at this footage, the thing that stands out most to me is the muscularity. This guy just has crazy amount of muscle. He's got good shape to go with it. The condition looks good. It could probably come up just a touch, but like he's very full, and I think will compare very well with some of these other guys. I could see him, like you said, being in that, final call out, maybe in
Yeah.
that top three or four.
Yeah, so that show was the last pro show of the year as well. Like we have to take that into account as well. Like athletes just gets tired, after a long season. So I believe it was, I'm don't quote me on that, but then from what I saw, he looked a little bit tired in terms of the physique, holding a little bit water, but then the shape is just tremendous.
Yeah.
So like I'm excited to see him in the Tokyo Pro with the best shape and
So that
condition.
is
Yeah.
Sunghoon Park from Korea. Next up, we have Naota Takamoto from Japan. So his most recent appearance was at the Taiwan Pro this past year. This is some footage from that. He placed seventh at this show. And just from what I've seen from him, he has good width up top. I would say really just he needs to put on more size overall. I think that's just the overwhelming feedback. He just needs to get bigger. Um, and with that, I think the more muscle that he puts on, specifically, I think just in the back, probably the chest, the delts as well. He's got good arms too. You can see here from this front double bicep, his legs are pretty good. Good lines there. Um, as he continues to put that muscle on, this guy could really start moving up in the pro ranks, I think.
Yeah, pretty good guy.
But so that
I don't.
is
Well, I think he just needs more back and like just um. Let me take one more shot. Yeah, so his waist is not exactly smaller, so he just needs to keep shrinking that waist and building more muscle, and he'll do well, I think. But
yeah.
probably not in this show.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
is Naoto Takamoto. Next up, we've got Suki Wong from Taiwan. So he made his pro debut earlier this year. This is from that show at the Taiwan Pro. Took third place at that show. And he's not the biggest guy, but his shape stands out to me. I think he's got really good shape. Brian, what do you think about Suki Wong?
Suki's a great guy. Like I think he's got tremendous shape. I would say he's actually he he would be the top three guy classic physique wise coming out from Taiwan. If you ask me, I would say he just needs to get bigger. The size that he has right now is just not competitive enough in the pro rank. But then, he's just got tremendous shape, especially some of the front shots that he like this one right now. It's just very classic. And if he can come in super sharp, he would be very dangerous. Um, but then he just needs more back. Yeah, but then from the front though, like his lats are actually really wide. So like yeah, so if he comes in slightly more conditioned in comparison to here, I think he would do quite well as well.
Yeah, so that is Suki Wong from Taiwan. Next up, we've got a guy who hasn't competed in a while. This is Soomin Yoon from South Korea. So his most recent appearance was back at the AGP in 2022. So here's a shot from that. But it's been 2 full years since he's competed, and he's been grinding pretty hard to put on more muscle. So this was from that around that time when he last competed. And you can see here structurally very, very good. So in terms of what you've seen from him, Brian, it's always tough to know what we're gonna see given a long time off. But from what you've seen, what are some of his strong points?
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually there at the AGP. That's how long I've been competing for. So like that was actually the first Classic Physique Pro show I've watched. And in that lineup, he really stood out to me. He could come in that lineup back in the days. I'm sure he's working with, I think he's working with Francisco right now. I'm not
Hmm.
100%. If he is, I don't think conditioning is going to be an issue for him. And with his shape and added size, he would be pretty dangerous in this lineup, I would say. But I actually haven't seen enough updates of him. And I remember the last time I spoke to him, he told me he was going to retire. So like, um, it was a surprise for me to see him come back. But it looks like he's put on some tremendous masks, and if he can come in shape, he'll be very dangerous because he's actually got really good posing, as you can see, very classic, and the front double, just very, classic as well. Great vacuum, and yeah, just excited to see him if he can bring the conditioning. Because that from my last impression of him, the only issue was the conditioning. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
I
size.
would say,
Now he's just he's double the size right now
yeah,
compared to
it
what I
looks like he's grown quite a bit. The upper lower symmetry was the ultimate
yeah.
uh, thing that I think he needed to work on, just bringing the lower half up because his upper body was super impressive before. Just
Yeah,
bringing the legs up to match that upper body, and it looks
yeah, I
like
think
he's
he
done
brought,
that. But these are
yeah,
6 weeks out, so
yeah. He looks like he's brought his entire body up. He looks like he ate the older man.
so that is Sumin Yoon from South Korea. And our last competitor is Yukihiro Yuasa from Japan. So this is a guy who really intrigues me. He's making his classic debut. He was a men's physique Olympian, you can see here. So this was the 2022 Mr. Olympia. I was actually watching this prejudging routine, and I was really impressed with this guy. Um, and seeing men's physique guys move up to classic is always just like a really cool thing, just because it's the next progression. He's got great legs too. So it seems like a natural step to take. From what you've seen of him, Brian, what does he bring in terms of classic physique?
Yeah, so I've seen this guy many times in men's physique. I was, at the Tokyo Pro. I watch him compete. It's just, I never thought he would switch to classic because I haven't seen his legs. But from this video, he actually looks better in classic physique, I would say. Like if you look at his quads are very well separated. His front lat spread over there, like it's very X shaped. Like he just needs, I would say, more inner thigh. Yeah, but then his upper body needs to come up, definitely come. It's surprising to me that his legs actually look more dominant than his upper body, but then it could just be the angle. Yeah, so like I'm not 100% sure because we haven't seen him on a classic physique stage before. So and also, just like you said, it's always exciting to see men's physique guys transitioning to classic physique. I do know a lot of classic physique, sorry, men's physique guy who should be in classic physique, but they just don't like to take the leap. And it's always exciting to see a guy who take the leap of faith and say, I want to compete with the bigger guys.
Yeah, so that is
And
Yukihiro.
his legs is definitely more powerful than his upper body, for sure. Like from this video, maybe not from the definitely the quad. I can't see the hamstrings quite as much, but then the quad is just way more powerful than his upper body.
Yeah, so that is Yukihiro Yuasa
Yeah.
from Japan. And now we'll get into the best part of the show, our top five predictions. So, Brian, we're going to make our top five predictions. Now, since you're the special guest, I'll give you the option. Would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first, or would you like to alternate? We could do any of those.
We can alternate. That would
All
be
right,
more fun. Yeah.
perfect. Do you want to give your fifth place pick?
Yeah, fifth. You know what? Like with classic physique, or the fifth to the third, fifth, fourth is always hard. Like could be a toss of apple or orange. But I would give. I would give actually uh Hyun Yoon Kim, the guy with the great back and competed in the AGP. I think he would be a solid five or fourth. Yeah, yeah, that would be my pick for fifth.
Yeah, he's also my fifth place pick. I think this guy is just very balanced overall. I don't think his condition is going to be the best in the show, but I think it's going to be good enough to get him where he needs to be because he has very good shape, good flow, and like you said, the back double bicep is what is going to differentiate him from a lot of other competitors in this show. I think that's going to be the separating shot. So I've got him in fifth place.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to the lineup here. Who do you have in fourth place, Brian?
Fourth place I would have Yoda Man, also a Yu Min. It's just because I haven't seen him. Well, I haven't seen him compete for a long time. And if he comes in super sharp, like I said, and he's working with Francisco, is he working with Francisco? Look, if he is, then I don't think he's going to have an issue with conditioning because I've seen his athletes come in and just peel like the two top guys that he has. They all peel. So like if he can do the same thing with that shape and the other size, he would be definitely in the top five.
Yeah, he looks great, man. And to confirm, he has been working with Francisco for over 2 years now. So I think that also attributes a lot of the progress that he's made, or so it seems. We'll come to find out here at the Tokyo Pro.
Yeah, and I believe he also has his own gym as well. And speaking from my own experience, when you just have a place for your own, like your progress just skyrocket, right? Although it's hard to manage a business at the same time, but then you have your own dungeon to make progress. Like every piece of equipment is obviously if you're passionate in bodybuilding, you handpick all the equipment that you use, and that's when progress really like just skyrocket.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get to my fourth place pick. So I've actually got, let's see if I can find him. I've got Ka-Sing Lee from Hong Kong. So um, I think this guy looks tremendous, just overall, really good lines, especially that back double bicep, man. That's such a good shot in the lower half, especially the back looks like it's come up. And I think that's also going to be one point that separates him is if you look how separated and conditioned he is, that's going to stand out in this lineup. And like you said, very well could be the most conditioned guy in this show, and I think that will carry him very far. So I've got Ka-Sing Lee in my fourth place spot. So looking back at the lineup now, Brian, who is in third for you?
In third, I will have Kasing. I believe I strongly. It's not just because he's my friend. I really strongly believe he's going to crack the top three this time. I'm not worried, but then I know it's going to be fun to compete with him in Hong Kong Pro. But then, look, we haven't competed together, like, and I'm so excited to do it together, and I'm so excited that he can bring his best, and I'm going to bring my best as well in Hong Kong Pro. And I strongly, strongly believe he's going to crack top three in this show, like without a doubt, right? To me, classic, and I'm sure to a lot of people as well, like, when you turn around and you see the glutes are just ridiculously peeled and you just draw your eyes to it. And this guy does exactly that. And I can tell you straight up, these are not filter photos. These are not photos that's been edited or he looks like that in real life, right? In whatever lighting you want to be in. So like I have a very strong belief in this guy is going to crack top three.
All right, so Kasing Lee in third place for Brian.
Yep. Yep.
My third place pick is going to be, let's see if I can find him. I've got Sung Hoon Park in third place. This guy was fourth in Taiwan, brings really impressive muscularity. He's got good shape to pair with it. And I think we'll see an even better look than we saw in Taiwan last year. This guy really impressed me with his shape and just overall the good flow to his physique. The delts are crazy. Lots of width for a shorter guy. So I think he will do very well here. I've got him in the top three.
Hmm.
So
I've got him in
Brian,
place.
all right, so he's your second place
So
pick.
he's my second place pick. I'm not gonna even try and pronounce his name. Classic Koala is his Instagram handle. He's just because I've seen him in person. And I know how impressive he is. He's gonna be my second place. Second place, right? Yeah, second place pick. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So my second place pick is going to be I'm actually going to go with Suman Yoon here in second place. I think this guy structurally is probably the best guy in this entire show, and that's why I've got him here in second. Now, if you see here, these are from roughly a year and 2 months ago. You can see how good his structure is. Now, these are a little bit more conditioned photos than we saw from these are like 6 weeks out, but structurally you can even see, even though this is not stage level condition yet, this is beautiful structure. Just being able to hit a front double bicep straight on like that is something not many guys can do. And he's brought up the lower half to match the upper body. So it seems it's always tough to really know what we're going to see 2 years away from the stage. But I think with the added size and his shape, I think I, this might sound crazy. This guy could win the show. He has an outside chance at maybe even winning if his improvements are as evident as what we see here on Instagram because the shape's there. We know the condition's going to be on point with Espen coaching him. So I think this guy's going to be in second place. I've got Sumin Yoon in second. So, Brian, who is your first place pick?
Uh, was his name Murat or yeah Murat, right? I believe is Murat, the MCK. Yeah, the guy coached by Callum. Straight away when I looked at the lineup, I knew he was going to win. Like no doubt, unless he comes in completely off. But I don't think he will. With Callum in his corner, I think he's just gonna just take this home.
Yeah.
And also you know, when I first show this guy to some of my friends, look, this guy's doing Tokyo Pro, and they're like, "Oh my God, like just super classic." He just screams classic to me. So yeah, definitely my first place pick.
He's also
The
my
only
first place pick too, man.
Yeah, so the only thing, and I hope Callum watches this as well. Like the only thing, right? Like it's just tiny bit more glutes, tiny bit more conditioning in the glutes. But then it's always hard. Like I'm a conditioning guy, but then sometimes when you just try to get that little bit more glutes, you can see there's still a tiny bit you can get off, in comparison to guys like Kazing, right? But then sometimes it's like a genetic thing as well. Like I'm not saying Kazing doesn't train his glutes. Okay, I know what he does for his glutes. Like he does like 100 hip thrusts a day, like every single day. But then what I'm not saying that's what everyone should do, or anyone that does that is going to get that glute development. But then, you know, like when you try to get that last bit off, sometimes it sacrifices your upper body or like the entire shape as well. So like I'm not trying to, say, he should be doing this because I'm sure they know what they're doing. But then that's just the only tiny little thing that I think can secure even really top, like really good placing in the Olympia. Like if he could just improve the glute slightly.
Yeah, so I've got Murat in first place too. To me, he's just the most complete guy in the lineup. We know the
Yeah.
condition's going to be on point. The fullness is crazy. He's got this grainy granite-like uh, look to the muscle, which really
Yeah,
impresses me, and
the
good
muscle
flow too,
maturity
good
is
balance. Yeah,
yeah.
just overall very, very tough to beat. I think he's proven himself on stage many times. He's never been outside of the top three, like I said before, and he's compared very well against guys who have done well at the Olympia. So I've got Murat Kara there in first place. So Brian and I both had the same first place pick there. So um, those are our picks for the show. And before we wrap the show up, again, I want to give a huge shout out to Brian and make sure you guys can find him here on Instagram. It's Brian Owl with an underscore. You guys make sure to check out his gym if you're ever in Hong Kong fit culture. And then also use his code for GASP. And then check out all of his links as well. Give him a follow here on Instagram. And before we wrap up the show, Brian, is there anything you want to say to the athletes? Anything you want to say to your sponsors or your people out there?
Look, just I'm grateful that you picked me to be on this show, and honestly, like I've never done this type of podcast before, and it's really fun because to me, I said yes right away when you asked me because I'm just super passionate in the sport. As you can see, I'm like I hope none of the athletes watches this video take it as an offense when I have slight criticism in because I'm not perfect. Like I have a shitty chest and like shitty legs as well. I have so many injuries in the past, and like to me, like turning pro is like a miracle. Like I've chased my pro card for 7 or 8 years, and I got it. It wasn't an easy ride. So like I just hope every athlete can just like enjoy the stage, and even like win or lose, they just find things that they can improve and move forward. Because that's what I've been doing in my past 30 or 40 odd shows that I've done in my life. So I was never gifted. I was never one of the guy who stood out. Like I first competed in the UK when I first started bodybuilding. Like I just no one would have thought I would be a good amateur, let alone an IFBB pro. So like I would say for the younger guys who's watching this video, like just be super passionate in this and don't take defeats as like don't take anything personal. Like just keep grinding and find ways to improve yourself and just keep bringing better package each year rather than just beating yourself up and say I'm not made for this because you are. Like no, like if you're strong enough mentally, you can always overcome your genetics. Like maybe you won't be C-bum, but then I'm not going to be C-bum. Like I'm not. It would be a miracle if I could get on the Olympus stage, right? But then I always have faith in myself, and I always, I just want to make sure everyone who watches this video out there and just stay motivated, stay passionate, and keep chasing your dreams. Whether you're a pro, whether you're an amateur, just keep working towards a better look each time you step on stage. Because to me, my biggest satisfaction when I step on stage is to see myself improving from my previous showing. If I can do that, then I'm happy. The only time that I haven't really improved was, it was after I turned pro, like my body was already really tired, and I did 2 pro shows, and I don't believe that was like my best look. And I also had some injuries I was dealing with at 2 days out. I kind of torn my quad at the Monster Gym show, and then I was stepping on stage with like a watery quad, and like I just, I kind of regretted doing that show, but then I also learned a lot from that show as well. Like, don't just push yourself to a point where you're gonna like, if you know you're not gonna bring a better look, then just back it off. Like there's always going to be time, and just always be cautious about your health, and just keep grinding, keep pushing hard in the gym. And if you have any questions regarding Classic Physique or anything like that, you can always send me a DM. I'm always like I'm super happy to help you out, whatever questions that you may have.
Great message here from Brian, guys. Make sure you guys go follow him here on Instagram. Send him a DM, like he said. And that's going to do it today for the preview. But before we get out of here, make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video with your friends to spread the coverage of the Tokyo Pro. So that's going to do it. I'm Brant, and that's Brian signing out for CPC Bodybuilding. Make sure you guys keep it classic. We'll see you later.